When I was a little boy, my family started coming to New Life because somebody invited us. Pastor Sam was the man of prayer who had a burning passion to see souls saved in a relationship with Jesus Christ. So Sam would pray, and then he would go out into the community and he would connect with people and invite them to church. That invitation forever changed my life and our whole family's trajectory for eternity. Back in the 1980s, Pastor Sam prayed and specifically asked God what he would want to do with his church. And God told Sam that he was going to grow his church, which was a little neighborhood church, to reach 1,000 people. That sounded absolutely crazy in the 1980s, until years later, God did exactly that. In the 1990s, our pastor challenged us to reach out to everyone we could with the good news of the gospel of Jesus. We changed a whole bunch of stuff. In fact, we changed everything except the message of the gospel in order to reach people that nobody was reaching. As we prayed to God to help us and we reached out, people started coming to church like never before. We soon outgrew the little building that we had been in for over 40 years. So in a huge act of faith, the New Life leadership decided to sell that church building and go into a new phase and adventure in ministry. We invested all the money that we had from the sale of the building into taking the church mobile, and we set up and tore down at the Boys and Girls Club in Endicott until God provided 201 Hill Avenue for us. We bought our current building from the Union Endicott School District, and we poured a whole bunch of money into retrofitting it for our purposes. Believe it or not, that was 20 years ago. Since then, God's vision of growing New Life to a church that reaches 1,000 people in worship has happened multiple times as we've grown up above that and then come back down over these past 20 years. 2 years ago, when I was becoming lead pastor, I was praying a lot. So I asked the Lord, would you please speak to me specifically, because I just want to make sure that we're all doing your will. And you know what? God loves to answer prayers like that. I felt like he started to ask me a question. Within reasonable driving distance, would it be crazy if you guys reached 1 out of every 100 people? My first thought was, Lord, there's 200,000 people in our local area. And if we reach 1 out of every 100 of them, we'd have to change, we'd have to grow, we'd have to, find new ways to minister to and disciple all of those people. But I said, Lord, if that's what you want, there's nothing you can't do. Then I sensed the Lord saying, okay, go and do it. The vision that God's given us is to raise up, to reach out, and to restore lives. We really feel like God has specifically put us at 201 Hill Ave in Endicott for a reason. In the future, we're going to branch out, launching new locations of New Life and whole new church plants in order to reach new people. But before we do that, in this season, we have to focus on putting down roots. Church, the time has come for each of us as individuals and together as a whole, for us to put down deep roots into Jesus Christ. Colossians chapter 2, verses 6 and 7. Just as you received Jesus Christ as Lord, continue to live your lives in Him, rooted and built up in Him, strengthened in the faith. So we've got to draw all that we need from a deep faith in Jesus. Together, God will use our growth as disciples of Jesus to make His church stable and ready to reach out. Our first step is to maximize the use of what God's given us where we are. It's been 20 years since we've made a significant investment in our facility. If we're going to put down roots and in the future branch out, we need to equip our building for future growth. Number one, we need to fix the exterior of the building. If we don't, then we'll soon have to deal with extensive, costly repairs. And more importantly, a new exterior will communicate to New Life, to the neighborhood, and the whole community that we're here to stay. We need to solve our access problem by installing an elevator. The fact that we have a 3-story building shouldn't be a barrier. It's not okay that our building is very difficult to access for a lot of people. I want everyone to be able to access all 3 stories of our building. One of the ways we can make the most of all 3 levels is by refurbishing the power-up room. On Sundays, this will be an incredible worship space for our children. But if we do it right, we'll be able to use this room as the next best room to our sanctuary every other day of the week. We need to take the common spaces that we use the most and give them a 20-year refresh. The coffee shop and the lobby are the places that we gather and we greet people. And the worship center is where we get to praise our great God together. It's going to take our entire church coming together to grow this ministry from the ground up. So I'm calling every New Lifer into this commitment to give sacrificially over a 2-year period. In the past, we had to borrow a lot of money in order to do renovations and make repairs to the building. But right now, adding more debt is not going to help us fulfill the mission that God has given us. I think we can complete these projects if we come together with as little debt as possible. We would like to raise about $1.8 million towards these projects. That's too much for any one of us to bring, but it's not too much for all of us together. Our goal is 100% participation in this initiative. My hope is that everyone who calls New Life home will partner together with us in this project. God has called us to raise up leaders, to reach out to our community, and to restore lives by the power of Jesus Christ. He's going to use you, and He's going to use me. He's going to bring us together as a church as we build His ministry, His church, right here in Endicott from the ground up.